Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Tech Lab. Imagine this, your Salesforce org is live, users are happy, dashboards are loading fast, reports are clean, and all of your integrations are running smoothly in the background. Everything looks perfect. Now imagine same org few months later, suddenly record save starts failing, batch jobs slow down, reports take forever to load, and integration goes to retry mechanism again and again. And worst of all, you will start seeing row lock errors in the production. When you go into the analysis and you analyze all this issue, you realize that there is no major code change and no new feature rollout happened. So, what exactly went wrong? In many real world Salesforce implementation, the answer is Salesforce data skew. Before we go deeper into the Salesforce data skew, make sure you subscribe to the Shepherd's Tech Lab. I upload the Salesforce video every Monday and Saturday. So, what we are going to learn in this video: what is Salesforce data skew, why it is important to understand the problem of Salesforce data skew, where to consider data skew ahead of time earlier, different type of data skew, the architectural solution, and the best practice for the data skew. So let's try to understand why data skew is important. When Salesforce org are small, most of the design works. But as soon as we hit into the large data volume area, that's where we need to consider about the Salesforce data skew. When it comes to the large data volume, your implementation is no longer about the Apex code or the automation. It's about how your data is distributed. It becomes about the data architecture. Salesforce is built to scale, but it expects data to be distributed, not concentrated. Why understanding data skew early? You need to be thinking about the data skew earlier for following scenarios. Wherever you are working with the enterprise implementation, finance and banking domain, high volume implementation, batch heavy works, and multiple integrations as well. So let's try to understand what is the Salesforce data skew. Let's define it very clearly. Salesforce data skew happens when disproportionate amount of data is associated with one, a single parent record, second, a single user, and third is a single lookup value. Performance problem typically appears when one parent has 10,000 childs, one user owns 10,000 plus records, or one lookup value is referenced by 10,000 plus records. This uneven distribution creates internal contention inside the Salesforce. There are typically three types of data skew. One is account data skew, second ownership skew, and third is lookup skew. Let's try to understand the account skew in detail. Account data skew occurs because account is a special object in Salesforce. Object like opportunity, case, contact inherit access from parent account, especially under a private sharing model. The problem starts when One account has 10,000 of child records. For example, one global customer account has 30,000 opportunities and 50,000 cases. Salesforce must constantly recalculate the sharing rule, enforce access rules, and apply locks during the update. This leads to a serious performance degradation. Next is ownership skew. Ownership skew happens when a large number of records of same object are owned by one single user. A very common mistake is creating a generic user and assigning everything to it. This looks convenient, but it creates a massive bottleneck. Lookup fields behave like a foreign key. Every insert or update requires Salesforce to lock up the record. Every insert or update required Salesforce to lock the lookup record, ensure the data integrity. Normally, this happens in milliseconds, but if you combine this for a large data volume, trigger flows, then you start seeing row lock errors, failed insert, integration retries. This is why lookup skew is called silent. This is why lookup skew can silently break production system. So, how we can detect the data skew? Parent-child skew can be easily detected by the simple query where you can query, for example, which you are seeing over here, select parent ID, count of ID from child object, group by parent ID, having count ID greater than 10,000. Same goes for ownership, where you can also use a query to understand or to know where the ownership skew is happening or will happen. Running this regularly help you detect hotspot early, fix the problem earlier, and avoid the production failure. Now let's try to understand what could be the architectural solution and what are the best practices we should follow for data skew. Architectural solution wise, you should be always considering when you create your data model, you should consider about the data partitioning ahead of time. Think about the account hierarchy and the hierarchical structure for the account. You should make use of territory management, and also logically you can separate the business unit earlier. You can make use of big object for historical data. For ownership, for common ownership, you can consider queue-based queue-based ownership, make use of asynchronous processing, and junction object wherever is needed. Best practice is, of course, you should have a regular architectural review and you should explicitly monitoring the data skew problem or the ownership count using the query. You should be explicitly doing that. Monitor the record distribution and try to identify the skew earlier. Salesforce data skew is one of those problems that looks invisible at first, but can completely destroy the performance of the org at scale. And I will see you in next video. Next video is going to be about how to check governor limit proactively. Thank you.